With any luck, this will be the last one in the series. I'm going to try to go through it fast. Question: why are we here on Earth? Because this is where we evolved. If we evolved somewhere else, we would be there. What's the purpose of life? Whatever you want it to be. If intelligent design and the Bible aren't correct, then how did humans end up being the masters of every other species on Earth? Because we learned how to manipulate our environment more quickly than the other animals, and since then we haven't allowed them to be able to manipulate their environment, so they can't become a master of Earth either as well. Why didn't bears or deer or trout or monkeys or tigers or dogs or squirrels develop intelligence and the ability to speak in thousands of different languages and the ability to build solid structures and the ability to civilize and the ability to master any environmental challenges? Bear, deer, and mine I had to write down because it was in depth and I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Bears, deer, monkey, tigers, dogs, dolphins, and squirrels have a high level of intelligence as shown by their problem-solving skills, like trying to get bananas for the monkeys and catching fish for the dolphins and whatnot. Bears, monkeys, tigers, dogs, and dolphins are likely capable of speech. We just wouldn't be able to understand it. Like there's this one Native American language, can't remember what it is, but it's pretty much impossible to learn unless you grew up speaking it, because so far not a single person has been able to learn it who didn't already know it or grew up speaking it. So maybe the animal languages are the same. Monkeys, squirrels, and dolphins have the ability to create solid structures when they need to. Sure, it isn't that often, but when they need to, they can. Monkeys and dolphins have created their own forms of civilizations. I don't know what the group of monkeys is called, but they create their own little villages and whatnot. Not a lot of them. And dolphins create a huge civilization called pod. Sure, they don't live in houses and whatnot, but it's essentially the same thing as far as I know. And dolphins and monkey also have the ability to master environmental challenges that come in their way, even if it might take a long time. Not an insanely long time, but long enough to not be immediately noticeable. Question: where did government come from? You don't need to answer that one. All historians know the Bible is correct historically, even about Noah's flood, due to recent archaeological evidence. So government was formed by the people of Israel. If no God, they created based on nothing. Historians, geologists, and archaeologists have proven that Noah's flood never happened. Leading experts in history have shown that most of the Old Testament is probably false, and it's meant to teach a lesson more than it is meant to be historically accurate, obviously. And I just lost where I was. Oh, I went up instead of down. And government wasn't created by the people of Israel. It was created, as far as I know, the earliest one was by the Sumerians to keep all the citizens alive, not to worship a god. I'll keep them alive and peaceful so they don't start an uprising. Question: if the universe was entirely empty space except for a small mass of matter that created the universe by spontaneously exploding and steadily expanding throughout empty space, what caused the small mass of matter to explode? As I said in the previous one, it might be an oscillating universe, which there might be proof for, but we're still waiting for the results back from Europe before we can confirm or deny it. Because if we can, then they've proven it. If we can't, then they've disproven it completely. Bug. Yes, you're right, stupid bug. Another explanation could be I'd said earlier, the universes, there's a bunch of them, infinite number, and when they collide into each other like that, then a universe is created, and it's the start of another Big Bang. And because time doesn't necessarily have to flow the same direction in both universes, the end of our universe could start the beginning of theirs, and the beginning of theirs could start the end of ours, so it would totally annihilate the need for a first cause. Question: have you ever seen the beauty of a newborn child in his or her mother's arms? In that moment, did you not experience the feeling that, my gosh, there really is a God? To me, babies are tiny, ugly little things that remind me of Godzilla. The existence of a baby, even a newborn, and I watch a lot of the shows titled something like I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, and it doesn't make me think God exists, it just makes me think I'm never having a kid of my own because I don't want my wife to go through that. If God did exist, it wouldn't make childbirth that deadly to both the mother and the child. If God created was created by mankind as an explanation for life and the events that make it up, and mankind is by nature evil, as Rousseau said. Why didn't mankind worship themselves or a power of evil? Have you ever read the Bible? God kills, I can't remember the number, I think it's 1,000,000, it might be 200,000, either way it's a lot of people, and it's probably more because of Noah's flood. And Satan killed 10. So, if anything, God is evil. If God was invented by humans, then why do so many biblical stories involve as punishments of humans who went astray? It's to teach a lesson, because if a person says not to do something, and the first thing a person's going to do is do that thing, because they know if they'll be punished, it'll just be for a short time, or they might die, and it'll be over with. But if a God says that it'll punish them, then the people would be the people who grew up believing in a God would be less likely to do it, because they don't want to be punished and tortured for eternity with no chance of death, or an infinite amount of deaths. Wouldn't humans rather create a God that allows them to get away with whatever they wanted? No, because humans would create religion to keep humans alive. They would, or their civilization, or their little village, tribe, clan, whatever you want to call it, because they know that if you shouldn't murder your friend because you're in an argument, so they put it in the thing of you shouldn't murder, and so you can't get away with whatever you want. The religions were made not to have people be able to do whatever they want. It was to make society, civilization, and the human race survive longer. But it put mythical reasons behind it, so that way, because they weren't as technologically advanced as we were, not at least most of the places. So it's like a scare tactic. If Jesus really wasn't the Son of God and he really didn't rise from the dead 3 days after his crucifixion, why did a group of men and women who had been hiding in an attic for those 3 days suddenly come out and start preaching about this man in a way that they were willing to suffer gruesome deaths for? And don't give me that crap about mankind needing an explanation in their minds. Any simple explanation would be quickly dropped when a man is about to be sawed in two, stoned, crucified, burnt alive, or beheaded. I think that if they really did do that, don't know if they did or not, that it could just be because they really believed that Jesus was the Son of God and he was going to come back 3 days later. So 3 days later they would have just imagined it because of their really vast belief, and they would be telling the truth even though it was just a mass hallucination between the three of them. Even if they said the same thing, that's a mass hallucination. One person says, "Who's always saying this?" and so the other person remember him as saying that. And even if they didn't believe it, but they did believe in heaven or in hell and whatnot, and they just had to stick with their beliefs, then they would believe, and they believed that, then they would rather go through a little amount of torture or a quick death instead of being tortured alive for the rest of their life, being tortured for the rest of their lives. So that would suck. So I think that answers the question. I hope it answers the question. Next question. You say God doesn't exist. Why does each person have a conscience? Conscience then. I can't remember what that thing says. I'm gonna have to read the thing. I say God is unlikely to exist, and as consciousness is a result of consciousness is in our brain. Although I do believe in souls with their own form of consciousness, but it's not like we know that we're existing. It remembers your major wants and whatnot, like what you want to be and your aspirations from your previous lives, and they go back, and then you just go into another body and whatnot. The reason you wouldn't be able to remember them is the same reason you can't remember things before you were 4 or 5. Your brain's not fully formed, and you're not really good at being able to remember anything. I'll get into that in a later video about Hinduism. Next question. Why does every person have a knowledge deep within them of right and wrong? Because we're told from birth what's right and wrong, and we're essentially indoctrinated into our beliefs for that. Not just from our parents, but from our friends, from ourselves, from society, from authority figures, yada yada yada. what happens to us after we die. I don't mean our physical body. I know that decomposes back to dust, another phrase out of the Bible, but I mean who is the person is. One, the body doesn't really turn to dust as far as I'm aware. It just decays. And but who the person is, that depends on, one, if there's a soul, which this question is assuming, but that's not proven, although I do think it is, so I'm saying the assumption is a dumb one. And so my belief is that we get reincarnated, but it's not like people normally think of reincarnation, like you go into your next life as soon as this one dies and you're somebody else. Then you could skip that period of time entirely. You could go into your next life, could be in the future. Your next life, you could be a T-Rex billions of years ago, whatever, or you could be yourself, or you could be your friend. So get that in the next one. And there's 2 more questions. I hope I have enough time. Yes, I think I'll have enough time if I talk quickly. Why is there anything? Because something caused the Big Bang. Best answer I can get. And why is there evil? Because we defined evil as not good, and we're told what is good and what is not good. So evil is just people doing what we're told is not good. So that's why evil exists. Evil is subjective, because some people think that homosexuality is evil, but others don't. Like me, I don't. I think saying it's evil is stupid and slanderous. So yeah, that's whatever. So yeah, I'm just bored right now. I'm gonna wait till just before the timers on the computer says 12 minutes. Thanks for watching.